What if the silence of the tomb was never the end, but the setup for the greatest moment in history? What if the people who came expecting death were the first to witness something no one dared to imagine? And what if the question asked that morning is still echoing today? The Sabbath had passed. The long, quiet waiting was over. For those who loved Jesus, the last few days had been filled with confusion, grief, and unanswered questions. Everything had happened so fast. The arrest, the trial, the cross, the burial, and then silence. But early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, something began to shift. 3 women made their way to the tomb: Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome. They carried spices, prepared carefully. This was not a visit of hope, it was a visit of love, a final act of care, a way to honor someone they believed was gone. As they walked, they asked each other a practical question: who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb? It was a real concern. The stone was large, heavy, impossible to move on their own. They didn't have a plan, they didn't know how it would work, but they kept going anyway. Because sometimes love moves forward, even when the details aren't clear, step by step, question by question. They approached the place where everything had ended, the place of finality, the place where hope had been sealed behind stone. But when they looked up, something was different. The stone had already been rolled away. Before they arrived, before they asked for help, before they could even figure it out, the obstacle they were worried about was already gone. And that changes something, because it reminds us that sometimes the things we worry about most are already being handled before we arrive. They entered the tomb, carefully, unsure, expecting to find a body. But instead, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were alarmed. This was not what they expected. This was not what they came for. Everything about this moment was different, unexpected, unexplainable. And then he spoke. "Don't be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here." Simple words, but they carry everything. He has risen. Not he will rise, not he might rise, but he has risen. It already happened. While no one was watching, while the world was quiet, while everything seemed still, something impossible became reality. See the place where they laid him. The tomb was not just open, it was empty. The place of death was now a place of absence, not because something was taken, but because something had been completed. Then came the instruction. "But go, tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." Notice that. And Peter, specifically named, the one who had denied him, the one who had failed publicly, the one who might have thought he was disqualified. He was not forgotten, he was not excluded, he was called. That matters, because it shows that failure does not remove you from the story. It doesn't cancel your place, it doesn't erase your connection. Peter was still included, still invited, still part of what was coming next. The women fled from the tomb, trembling, amazed, overwhelmed. This wasn't just surprise, it was a mix of emotions: fear, wonder, shock. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid, and that might seem strange. Why not run and tell everyone? Why not celebrate? Why not announce it immediately? Because sometimes, when something is so overwhelming, so beyond expectation, it takes time to process, to understand, to move from shock to clarity. The resurrection is not just an event, it's a shift, a complete reversal. Everything that seemed final was undone. Everything that seemed sealed was opened. Everything that seemed lost was restored. Death was not the end. That's what this moment declares, not quietly, but powerfully, because it changes the entire story. Without the resurrection, the cross is just an ending. But with the resurrection, the cross becomes a doorway, a passage, a turning point. Jesus didn't just die, he rose, and that changes everything. Because it means that what looks impossible is not final. What feels permanent can be transformed. What seems like the end may not be the end at all. The women came expecting to find death. They left encountering something completely different. And that's often how transformation works. It meets us in places we didn't expect, at moments we thought were already decided. They didn't come with hope, they came with spices, with grief, with finality. But they walked into something new, and that invites a question for us. What are we expecting? What assumptions have we already made? What situations have we already labeled as over? Because the resurrection challenges those assumptions. It invites us to look again, to consider that something might be happening even when we don't see it. The stone was rolled away, not so Jesus could get out, but so others could see in, to witness, to realize, to understand. That what they thought was holding everything in place was no longer a barrier. And that's powerful, because it means that what we see as final may actually be temporary. What we see as sealed may actually be waiting for a moment, waiting for a shift, waiting for something greater to be revealed. The resurrection is not just about Jesus, it's about what it represents. Life beyond death, hope beyond loss, purpose beyond pain. It's a reminder that endings are not always what they seem. That silence is not always absence. That waiting is not always wasted. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's the space before something new begins. The women left the tomb changed, not because everything was clear, but because something undeniable had happened. And that's how transformation often begins. Not with full understanding, but with a moment, a realization, a shift that changes everything moving forward. Jesus had said it before. He had told them, he had prepared them, but they didn't fully understand. Not until now. Not until the tomb was empty. Not until the message was clear. He is not here. That statement carries weight because it breaks expectation, it disrupts assumption, it invites something new, and it still does. Today, right now. Because whatever feels final, whatever feels sealed, whatever feels beyond change, may not be the end of your story. Because the resurrection shows us something deeper. That life has the final word, that hope is not limited by what we see, that purpose continues, even when we don't understand it. The tomb was empty, but the meaning was full. Full of promise, full of possibility, full of something that continues to speak. Because this moment didn't just change their lives, it changed everything. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it today.